If you're not as creative as you'd like to be, it may be that somebody else in your office or somebody external to you can be of help to you once you get the list underway. There are some very good wholesalers I know happen to be in the room who would be helpful to you. You know, wholesalers are like Marco Polo. They travel all around and they collect good ideas from other sources. They filter them through their own intelligence, their own credentials, their own creativity. And you're crazy not to use them about things like this. See, it doesn't have to be about product. In fact, it is never about product. It's about you and it's about relationship. You see, you don't have room to improve unless you get rid of some junk. And I'm not suggesting that you go out tomorrow and fire all your C or your B clients. If I had a few more minutes with you, I would. But for purposes of this, the microcosm, what you need to do is make room. And you've got to train yourself to get rid of the $300 or the $400 or the $5,000 guy in order to make room for a $10,000 guy. And after you do that a couple times, confidence kicks in. Mark my words. But you know who it is that's been stirring the pot and bringing in clients, right? This is the audience participation part, right? I can see you starting to drift on me. So 2 guys walk into a bar. You would have thought that the second one would have seen it. See, always tell IQ jokes. And if people don't get the jokes, then you know that maybe you better shift to the other side of the room. I'm sitting with you in November 2008. And I'm asking you about 2010. I'd like for you now to write down very quickly the 20 people who will be most responsible for your income in the year 2010. Wait a minute. I don't know. Well, wait a minute. Who does? Ladies and gentlemen, the future is like a chattel. That's a word I used when I was practiced law. But I'm a recovering lawyer now, so I don't use that. But a chattel is something you can own. You know, it's like in law school they would call it a cow or a book or something you could own. Well, your future has an owner. Who is it? You need to step up and define what your future is in the year 2010. Because if you don't, and you just stand there like a cork and bobbing along, and we have crisis after crisis, you're going to get swept away. You've got to be one of those few people who step up. So step up and think of who those 20 people are. Have any of you ever lusted after somebody? You know, commercially, I mean. I mean, there's a client that you want to have so bad in your practice, and if you got that client, that individual, or that corporation, it would be great. Put that name on the list. Because the beauty here, you can put Donald Trump's name on it. It could be a Gordon Gekko from the movie Wall Street. You can identify this person and give yourself permission to fail for more than 2 years in your endeavor to bring that client into your practice. And then your creativity gets challenged because this is the list that you look at every day. This is the list that you have in your car, at home, every colleague that works for you, every assistant that you have, the receptionist, I'm sorry, it's not the receptionist, it's the director of first impressions. Because even if it doesn't ultimately work, you're training yourself. It's almost a mind game, but you got to spend the time anyhow. You may as well spend the time doing something that's profitable and designed for the future. You see, it's something many of us don't want to look at. Oh, I've got a void. I've got a gap. I'm too busy. The phone just rang. Let me get the phone. Oh, somebody at the door. Oh, wait a minute. I got to get this mail out. Got a lot of excuses. No excuse for this. There's got to be 20 good names on this list, and you have to have a system. Where do I get help? You get the best help in the world from good wholesalers. They see this all the time. And rather than beating around the bush talking about things that you usually talk about in a wholesale conference, once the issue of the topic of product and questions are set aside, this is where you get help. And I almost want to insist that you put that down on your list of top 10 things that must-dos. Somehow cultivate the relationships that you have with wholesalers and bring them into the third dimension, as I would call it. Your future is inextricably linked to the futures of these 40 people. You need to know who they are. When I would approach the client as a preamble to asking these questions, I would say, I'm here to try to help you in your practice. And I'd like to know if my skills, my credentials, my attitude, and so forth can do that. But I need to ask you 4 questions to find out if I can be of help to you. Would that be all right if I ask you these 4 questions? You would probably say yes. I would counsel advisors to do the same thing with clients, even if the client's been a 20-year client because the earthquake that has happened has moved everything. And it is time to revisit. It is time to revisit. It is time to get another baseline check for that first question, the relationship question, and the next 3 questions that follow. Because these questions go to relationship and they go to the thing that controls all sales. Emotion. It's not facts, it's not eloquence, it's emotion. So if I got the approval from the person with whom I'm speaking to ask 4 questions, maybe it's like this. Maybe it's, we've been clients and we've been golfing buddies for 20 years. And we've seen things we've never seen in the market. I need to ask you 4 questions just to make sure that I know where you are, and I've made sure that you've figured out where you are so that I can use all my credentials, all of those letters that are on the door and all of the staff members that I have to make your economics for the rest of your life as good as they can be. Would it be all right with you if I asked you these 4 questions? And then the R factor question would follow. And most importantly, you have not heard the words that they use to describe their fears. Those words are critical that you hear and understand and record, because any interaction that you have with a client for the rest of your career has to pivot off relieving the client of his or her fears. If you relieve someone of their fears, you curry relationship. And has there been a time where fears have been greater than now? I mean, we can sense it, but you have to particularize it. It's not fair to say everybody's worried about retirement money, everybody's worried about their special needs kids, because that's not their need. But more than that, you haven't heard the words that the client has used. You see, everybody loves to hear 2 things. They love to hear their own name used, and they love to hear their own words back to them. And so what it's necessary for you to do is get that done and record it. That what you, in my opinion, are, you may have different credentials after your name. You may call yourself a financial planner, a financial consultant, or an advisor. You know what I think you are? You, ladies and gentlemen, are fear extinguishers. That's what you do for a living when it comes to matters financial. But you can't extinguish the fear unless you know exactly what the fear is. And if you uniquely use your language to ask these questions and then record it, it will enable you then to come up with strategies that meet what the fears are. Let me observe that in this room there are 50 different people with 50 different skills. And I'm not sure how well you've interacted so far, but what I would like you to do now is to pick one of the 10 things that I hope by now you've written on. I'm going to hold you to this. I'm not leaving here until it's done. I need for you to circle one of those things that you must do in your practice. And here, I'll make it easy on you. If you haven't done it yet, you know that there's one thing your practice needs, and you need to do it. And you knew that when you got here, and you'll know it when you're going home. You'll also know that there's one thing you have to stop doing. I don't know what it is, but you do. Maybe that's the thing you put down. And what I'd like for you to do, because this is the most valuable of my hour, and I've got 1 minute left, I would like you to, right now, tell the person next to you in one sentence the one thing it is that you're going to do, the must do. And then that person's going to tell you back. You just spread the wealth. You've encouraged somebody else, perhaps by your words, to do what you're doing, because you're all so different. The value of this meeting doesn't come from this stage. It comes from where you are. And you have just doubled what you've had because somebody else spoke to you. And the last thing that you got from that exercise, and I hope this presentation, was a little more confidence, because you've heard yourself say out loud what it is that you're going to do. And I'm sure that you're going to do it. I applaud you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come to such a great meeting. I want to turn it back to Tom, and I want to thank you all. There were questions, but I'll be happy to take them in the back. Thank you, ladies.